Good evening, my free family. How is everybody doing tonight? It is so good to be with y'all again on a Saturday night right here at Free Spiritual Community. I'm Ryan Kennedy. I'm the pastor here. And listen, we are a community for addicts, loved ones of addicts, and spiritual refugees. And what we like to do here is break the silence of addiction and create space for healing, recovery, and spiritual connection. If you're with us tonight, first, we're glad you're here. If you're new with us, if it's your first time here, even if it's not your first time here, it's not by accident that you're here. So embrace it. Join us. We're glad you're here. You are going to find a community here who walks with you, who does this thing of life together with you. So glad you're here. Welcome to Free. Some things you need to know about. First, before I throw it over to Drew for some announcements about what's happening here at Free. Been getting lots of emails, lots of messages, lots of Facebook messages. When are y'all going to open? When can we come back and hang out on a Saturday night? Y'all, the truth is, it could be a while. It could be several more weeks before we get together again on Saturday nights, because to get 200 people in this space, for those of you all that have been here, you know that we can't exactly follow social distancing guidelines with having that many people in this small of a space. So look, we have to just take things slowly, one day at a time, right? We will keep y'all in the loop, but I just trust me on this. For Saturday nights, it could be several more weeks. But there is some good news. I want to throw it over to Drew so you can hear what is opening up here at Free very, very soon, like in 2 days. So Drew, thank you for being here. Give us some good news, brother.
Hey, thanks, Ryan. I really appreciate it. I'm glad to be here. Just want you guys to know I love you all, whether you like it or not. A quick announcement, I actually got my eyebrows waxed today, so if they look amazing, they are. The other thing I wanted to say, we are reopening our doors for 12-step meetings only. You will be seeing shortly here that schedule will be updated on our app as well as our website. But if you have any questions, Saman Meyer at hometeam at freespiritualcommunity.com. All questions and inquiries should go her way. She's a great resource. She is our home team lead. So just so you guys know, we will have guidelines, and they are pretty strict that do adhere to the current policies with COVID and social distancing. That does include masks. They are required, as well as 6 feet distant, kind of what we've been seeing in other areas of our community. So that does start Monday. So again, if you have questions, hit up Saman Meyer, and when we do look forward to getting to Free eventually, but again, right now it is 12-step meetings only. So that's all I got for now, guys. I'm gonna kick it back. Oh, I almost forgot the best part.
Come on now.
Getting all nervous, thinking about my eyebrows. So we do have a website and an app. I actually worked with Tammy really hard and Danny, our content director, to get this thing rolled out. It's available on the app stores, any of them, you name them, it's there. Search Free Spiritual Community. We also built a brand new website, bethewagon.com or freespiritualcommunity.com. They take you to the same place. Check it out, get involved. We have lots of ways to get involved when we reopen, and I look forward to seeing you guys out there.
Thank you, Drew. Yeah, guys, if you haven't checked out the app yet, download the app. I think you're going to love it. It's the way to stay connected. And, questions about why are we opening up our space for 12-step groups? The response to that is really simple, because we know that 12-step groups save lives. My life is one of those. I know many of you are watching. Your life is one of those lives that were saved from the 12-step fellowship. So we think it's really important to follow the guidelines. And as Drew said, we've got guidelines. You got to wear your mask. We're going to stay 6 feet apart. We're going to do the social distancing. But we know the power of 12-step groups. So we want y'all in this space. We want to create space for the 12-steppers. All right, we are going to jump into celebrations, because it's how we start in this community. We start with celebrating. We don't ignore the hard stuff. We just save it for the end. But we start with celebrating. So y'all are going to have 3 minutes. Give us your celebrations. What are you celebrating in life? Where's the good stuff happening? Where's the new thing happening? And just to remind you all, it can be anything. Sobriety anniversaries, babies being born, new jobs, new transitions, weddings, whatever it is. I mean, we want to hear the good stuff. We want to celebrate with you, and literally thousands of people throughout the week will be celebrating with you. So write it in the comments, get vulnerable, let this community in on the celebrations, because we do that stuff together. Take 3 minutes and God joins with us in the celebrating. And I think God loves to celebrate with us, to party with us. So take 3 minutes, give us the party.
See the light of a new day dawning. Feel the love from a beating heart. You catch a ride to the top of the world. This is where we start. No, we can't make it last forever. We gotta use all the time we have. And you know that we'll never say never if we ever get the chance. And it's good to be alive. It's good to be alive. This feeling's running high. Life is calling and the world is beautiful. Na, 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 na. Na, 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 na. There's a winding road we're choosing, looking for a brand new day. And up ahead there's an open door, now we'll find our way. There's a hope for a new tomorrow. We can dream that we'll rise above. Let me be your guide to follow, and you'll always feel the love. And it's good to be alive. It's good to be alive. This feeling's running high. Life is calling and the world is beautiful. Na, 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 seize the moment and stop right now. Play the music and live. Well, it's good to be alive. So good to be alive. This feeling's running high. Oh, life is calling.
We're split screen tonight.
Split screening.
Welcome back, y'all. Hey, we missed you guys last week being here at Free, but what a fun time Derek Webb was. Give us some thumbs up if you guys enjoyed the sounds of Derek Webb. That was really fun. And we
Yes.
got to get away to Florida, so we're celebrating that. We're also celebrating being back home, too, and being with y'all.
We spent some time on the beach and fishing and paddleboarding and the pool, and man, it was good.
It was good. Yeah.
Yeah.
You want
All
to throw
right,
some up on the screen
Let's
for
do
us,
some
Andrew?
celebrating together. We didn't get to celebrate with y'all last week, so
know.
let's celebrate now. You want to start, Tim?
I will.
All right.
From Pam, I have some amazing friends who have blessed me this week.
Woo-woo! All
Very
right,
cool.
Pam. Sue is with us this
Hey,
evening,
Sue.
and Sue says, I celebrated 18 years in
Wow.
Al-Anon this week. Thank you for sharing that with us, Sue. Congratulations
18 years.
for doing the work and sticking with it. And thanks for giving hope to this community. Good to see you, Sue.
We appreciate you, Sue. Cindy, celebrating a trip to California this week with Brandon. Beautiful drive, too.
Awesome.
I love that.
A long drive, too.
Yeah, say hey to Brandon for us.
Congratulations. Steven says, daughter is still doing well in D.C., all very pleased and thankful. Good news, Stephen. Thank you for sharing that with us. We are celebrating
Yes.
that good news with you.
Very
and I'm
much.
glad you're here.
Yeah. Ashley is celebrating all the beautiful sister travelers in my life.
All right.
Very good.
Thank you, Ashley, celebrating that with you. Tom Epting says, thankful
Tom.
that you, Tammy, and the family made it back safely from Florida. Welcome home, preacher. Love you, bro. Love you too, brother. Sergeant Major, I'm glad you're here, and we're celebrating that too.
Thanks
the thing
for
about
that.
vacation is it's always good to go, and it's always good to, well, I don't know, at least we feel this way. It's good to come home. It's good to sleep in our own bed again. So it's good to be back with y'all. We love being with you on Saturday nights. Thank you for celebrating with us. We have another one. Tammy, you want to take it?
Yeah, Kathleen. Hey, Kathleen. Celebrating another day free. Truly happy, joyous, and free. Love this song. We do too. It's exactly how I feel. Celebrating all the wonderful friends I have. Y'all are my biggest blessing from God. Thank you. We
Yeah.
appreciate you. Thank you for
Thanks
being
for
here.
sharing that with us. And can you keep that up a minute, Drew? You know, I didn't say it at the beginning. Sometimes I do. Happy, joyous, and free. It's why we call this place Free. And that name actually came to me after I read that part in the big book. And we call this place Free because of that, but also because all the things that set us free, grace, compassion, love, forgiveness, these are the things that are so freely given by God. So Kathleen, I love that you are celebrating another day being free. I'm celebrating that with you. Thank you for lifting that up. It's good to have you here this evening. Do we have any more?
Got one more.
All right, take one more. Tammy.
I'm taking it. MJ,
Yeah.
my brother survived his third heart conversion yesterday, and he is 89.
All right.
Wow, good news. Thanks for sharing. We will celebrate that.
Good news indeed.
Yep.
All right, Tam, thank you for being with me on this split screen.
I know.
It's good to have you
So
here.
close yet so far away.
Social distancing.
Thanks for
y'all.
letting me celebrate.
Yeah. Hey, guys, thanks for celebrating with us. We love it. Thank you, Tammy.
Yep.
All right, y'all, we are starting a new series this week. I'm excited about this series. We're going to talk about miracles. Do miracles still happen today? What's it look like? How do we put some language to this? How do we embrace the mystery? This series is called When Pigs Fly. Here's a little 45-second video to get us into it. Take a look. Do miracles still happen today? The truth is, when we read through the scriptures, we see story after story of God speaking to people and people hearing God's voice and responding to that voice. And miracles happening along the way, lives being changed and things being made new. And y'all, I get it. It's easy to say, yeah, but Pastor, that was back then in the Bible times. And that's how God operated back then. And that's how the world was. But we're here and now. And that's not how the world is. That's not how God works today. To which I respond, then please tell me, how does God work today then? Do miracles still happen? Is God still active in the world? Or was that just stuff way back when? Does God still speak to us today? According to our 4-year-old son, Breck, the answer to that question is an emphatic yes. And here's how it went down. Some time ago, I came up with a response to my kids when they would get in that relentless pursuit of asking for things. And parents, you know how it is. You walk into the grocery store and all of a sudden they think you should buy them everything in sight. Poppy, can you buy me this? Can you buy me that? Oh, I really need this item. Or you go into Target and you pass that certain section. Come on, y'all know this. And it doesn't matter which month it is. It can be August. But all of a sudden, they think it's Christmas. Poppy, can you get this toy? Poppy, can you give me that toy? Oh, Poppy, this is the toy that I've really been wanting for years now. And so what I did was I came up with a response. And by the way, my kids hate it. And when I say it, they know exactly what it means, and they roll their eyes back and they just absolutely hate it. But I'll say to them, I don't know, let me pray about it. And they know that means to take the candy bag that's as big as their face and put it right back on the shelf where it belongs. And y'all, this worked just fine until one evening a while back when Breck, our 4-year-old little boy, when he just completely flipped the script. See, sometimes we'll do boys' night. And at boys' night, we'll stay up a little later. We'll eat snacks, watch movies. He gets to pick the movies, so we watch a lot of Batman. And on this particular night, the girls were off doing their thing, and Breck comes up to me, and Breck has an idea, and he's always got an idea, and he'll stick his finger in the air. Poppy, I got an idea. And he says to me, Poppy, how about we stay up late tonight, and we have boys' night? And I said, dude, I would love to have boys' night with you tonight, but it's actually a school night and it's already getting late. And so you actually need to go upstairs and start getting ready for bed. You know what he said to me? No lie. He said, Poppy, I'm going to pray about it. And here we are standing in the living room, and he puts his hands on his hips and he looks up towards the ceiling. And in his exact words, he says, Jesus, you want me to stay up late tonight with my Poppy? He waits a minute. Yeah, he said yes. To which I responded, you win, go get your jammies on, and let's watch a movie. See, does God still speak to us today? Do miracles still happen today? Because here's one of the things I love about this community. You all share some crazy, crazy stories with me. Stories about you and the huge messes you made, then you getting clean and sober. Stories about you forgiving people that you never thought you could forgive. Stories about relationships in your life being restored. Stories about you letting go of trying to control others. Tell me that's not a miracle. Yeah, stories about you getting your kids back when you made a complete mess of things. Stories about you finally being able to let your kids be their own person. That their mess doesn't have to be your mess. Stories about how you didn't have a single spiritual bone in your body, but now you're praying and seeking God and following God in crazy ways to some crazy places. And y'all, some of these stories, when you share them with me, I mean, I think to myself, it's like, man, that is an odd story. And yet it is so real to you. And God was somehow, somewhere in the midst of it all. So there's this really odd story early in the book of the Bible, the second book of the Bible, called Exodus. And it comes from chapter 17. And if you're a bit fuzzy on the book of Exodus, it begins with God calling Moses to go into Egypt and to speak to the king there, Pharaoh, because Pharaoh was holding the Israelites in captivity. The Israelites were being held in slavery. And God calls Moses to go to Pharaoh and say, let the people go. The people must be set free. And then after some reluctance, Moses decides he's going to go. And it was a lot of reluctance. And Moses goes to Pharaoh and says this to Pharaoh. And Pharaoh's really reluctant. But after some time and after some plagues hit and after things get dicey, Pharaoh decides he's going to let him go. And they cross the Red Sea. And here they are wandering in the wilderness. And they're traveling from place to place. And things aren't going well. The people are thirsty. And they're angry with Moses. They say to Moses, Moses, why would you do this to us? You brought us out here to die. Here we are wandering in the wilderness, and we're going to die of thirst. And not only are we going to die of thirst, but our kids are going to die of thirst. And our livestock is going to die of thirst. Why would you do this to us? And Moses cries out to God. Moses says, God, what am I supposed to do with these people? They want to kill me. They've turned on me. Exodus chapter 17, just a couple of verses. We'll throw it on the screen for you. It's verses 5 through 7. The Lord said to Moses, go on ahead of the people and take some of the elders of Israel, the leaders, with you. Take in your hand the staff, a stick, literally, with which you struck the Nile, and go. I will be standing there in front of you on the rock of Oreb. Strike the rock, and water will come out of it so that the people may drink. And let's pause there for just a moment. Can you imagine you're Moses? And man, things aren't going well. The people are thirsty. They've turned on you. And God says, I want you to get this stick and go hit a rock and water's going to come out. I mean, imagine Moses' response. No, God, I ain't going to do that. It sounds like a setup to me, God. You want me to go with my people, and you want me to take some stick and hit a rock, and you say water's going to come out of it. Come on, God, it sounds like the joke's on me. Very next verse. We'll throw it on the screen. Moses did so in the sight of the elders of Israel. He called that place Massah and Meribah because the Israelites quarreled and tested the Lord, saying, is the Lord among us or not? Yeah, it's kind of an odd story, isn't it? And if you're like me, you're probably asking like the really obvious question, did it work? I mean, did water come out of the rock? And the rest of the story of Exodus is essentially about them wandering around in the wilderness and God being really, really patient with them. And y'all, here's the thing. We don't hear about that rock until another 1,000 years later, and it was mentioned by a guy named Paul. In the first century, he writes a letter to this church in the city of Corinth, and in this letter to the Corinthians, so we're in the New Testament now, first century, bear with me for just one more moment. The Apostle Paul refers to this story about this rock, and he's telling them this story, and he's reminding them of their story, and he goes back to their ancestors wandering in the wilderness. And here's how he says it, just 2 verses from 1 Corinthians. I want you all to hear this. For I do not want you to be ignorant of the fact, my brothers and sisters, that our ancestors were all under the cloud and that they all passed through the sea. They all ate the same spiritual food, check this out, and drank the same spiritual drink, for they drank from the spiritual rock that accompanied them, and that rock was Christ. What? Christ? Jesus is the rock? I mean, Jesus wasn't even born then. It wasn't until centuries later that Jesus was born. Paul is reading another story in the story because Paul finds Jesus everywhere. That Christ was present in that moment, providing the water they needed to survive. Jesus was sustaining. Jesus, Paul says, was the rock. Kind of weird, isn't it? Or maybe it's not so weird. Yeah, because see, the truth is, so many of you have had such profound spiritual experiences, and you don't always know how to name them. But you know they were real, and they changed you. They changed the way you saw things. Is it possible for you to read another story in your story that in those moments you were bumping up against the living and life-giving Christ? You were drinking from the rock, not knowing exactly what the rock was or who the rock was. And it's true, isn't it? We're being sustained and carried in the most surprising ways, and ways that we can't even articulate. It's why when you read through the New Testament, especially Paul's writings, you see that phrase over and over, the mystery of Christ, the mystery of Christ. I was talking to a lady in recovery just recently, and she was telling me about these relationships in her life being restored in ways that she never dreamed possible. That she's been working the 12 steps, and the journey just got lighter. Not easier, but lighter. And the things about these broken relationships that used to cause her great turmoil no longer keep her up at night. And she was telling me, like, I just don't know. I just can't explain how all this is happening. Yeah. The mystery of God doing for you what you could not do for yourself. You might not be able to explain the miracles because there's a lot of mystery there, right? Embrace that mystery. Keep bumping up against the God who gives life. Keep bumping up against the God who provides life-sustaining water in the most unexpected places, in the most surprising ways. And when you encounter those moments in your life, when miracles happen, when the pigs start to fly, name it. Name it. You know, don't just stand there and say, gee, I don't know how that happened. I don't know what's going on. No, name it. That was God. Name it. In those moments, you are drinking from the same spiritual rock that has sustained and given new life from the very beginning of time. And it's true. On this spiritual path, you will encounter the God who asks you to do things that you do not understand. Keep on the path. Keep walking. Some of y'all know that my stepdad walked out on us, walked out of our lives just about 2.5 years ago. And he was in my life for 30 years, from the time I was just 6 years old, just a little boy, and we were pretty close. And he just up and left one day, and I haven't heard from him since that day. And I have to be honest with you, it's been a very strange and difficult thing in my life. And I was hurt and angry, and I met with my sponsor, and I told my sponsor I'm hurt and I'm angry, and he asked me the question, have you prayed for him? And when he asked me that, I'm thinking to myself, pray for him? No, see, what needs to happen is he needs to be praying for me. I don't need to pray for him. He doesn't deserve it. And my sponsor opened up the book, the big book of AA, and he opened to page 552. And right there in that Kneaders restaurant in Highlands Ranch, we read a paragraph from page 552. Listen, if you're dealing with any resentments in your life, I encourage you, you got to read page 552 of the big book at some point this evening. And I won't read it to y'all, but it essentially says, if you have a resentment you want to be free of, pray for that person or thing. Ask for their health and prosperity and happiness, all the things you want for yourself. Pray this for them and you will be free. Even if you don't want to pray it, even if it's only words and you don't mean it, pray for them. And here we are reading this paragraph right there in that Kneaders, and I'm thinking to myself, man, this is just stupid. I ain't going to do this. How's this going to work? How is this going to change anything? This is as stupid as being told to take a stick and hit a rock and expect water to flow out of it. But I did it anyway. And I prayed these things for him for a long time. If I can be honest with you all, I still pray these things for him. To this day, all the things that I want for myself, I pray for him. And the truth is, I don't know anything about his situation. I don't know if it's changed or not. And frankly, it is none of my business. But what I can tell you is this miracle happened. Somewhere along the way, it fundamentally changed me. Somewhere along the way, the bitterness and anger, well, it gets replaced with compassion and even love. Like water flowing from a rock, sustaining and giving you life. My brothers and sisters, you might not understand the things that God is calling you to do. Do them anyway. It might not make complete sense to you, but get humble. Don't abandon the path. Don't get stuck in that thinking that, oh, this is just stupid and it's never going to work and I'll just keep doing it my way. Well, how's your way working for you? Keep following that path. Pay attention to God's voice, because here's the thing. There might just be water there for you, and not just for you, but for others as well. So I want you all to take 60 seconds. Take 60 seconds and engage this question. And the question I have for you, and listen, I know it's only 60 seconds. You could use all day for these kinds of questions, but it's just to inspire your imagination, your moral imagination. Where in your life have you experienced water flowing from the rock? It seemed impossible, but a miracle happened, and God sustained you and gave you new life. take 60 seconds, get vulnerable, let the community in. We want to be in dialogue and conversation with each other. Where have the miracles happened for you? Take 60 seconds and we'll come back. Look, y'all, I encourage you to engage that question throughout the week. For you journalers out there, write it in your journal. Keep naming the places where God is doing things in your life that you know you could not do on your own. You couldn't do these things for yourself. Where is your heart transforming? Where is your action in the world, your behavior? Where is it becoming different? How are you being bent in different ways towards ways that matter? All right, y'all, I want you to welcome with me our guest storyteller this evening. If it's your first time with us here at Free, you know that every week we have a guest storyteller to share a piece of their story with us. Tonight, we have in the house with us Rob Lohman. He is no stranger to this community. He's a friend of Free, has been a friend of Free for quite some time. But to give you a little backstory, 19 years sober. He had a 13-year prison sentence in year 11 of his recovery. Now, he only served 10 and a half months of that 13-year sentence. He's going to talk to us a little bit about that. And he's also been 18 months free of gambling. So he's going to share with us some of the miracles that have happened along the way in his recovery and how his life is different now and what God is doing in him and through him. So, Rob, come join me at the table. Let's have a conversation, shall we? All right, Rob Lohman, I'm so glad you're here, brother.
I'm glad to be here. It's awesome.
You know, for those of you that follow Free or have been here, you know that we do sober open mic nights often, like throughout the year, but it's been a long time with COVID.
It has. We even tried to do it online once, and that was awesome.
It was awesome. We need to do that again.
Yeah.
We're going to do that again.
Okay.
Stay tuned. We're going
All
to do
right,
a sober open mic online. So, Rob, here's the deal. I know some people in this community know you. They know some of your story, but fill us in a little bit. I dropped kind of the heaviness, 19 years sober, but then getting this 13-year prison sentence in year 11 of your recovery. And then I didn't say this, but this is a big part of his story, an attempted suicide back in 2001, which actually led you into recovery. You know what? I think we should start there.
Yeah. I mean, that's a miracle in itself. Just, miracles don't always look great sometimes, I think. But, from a alcoholic and party guy from 14 to 29, it was just a heck of a roller coaster. I totally lost myself. And growing up in a Christian home, I just kind of forgot who I was for quite a while. But I'll tell you this, on June 7th, 2001, I'd been dealing with a ton of suicide ideation and figuring out, death would be a better option than living. And I was hanging out in a bar that night, and all of a sudden the bar got completely dead silent. And I audibly heard the words, "You're done." And then the bar got completely loud again. And I remember looking at my buddy Sean O'Brien. I was like, "Man, I got to go home. I think I'm done drinking." And he laughed because he didn't think that would be the case, in my journey. But I drove home that night, and I was like sober, but I was drunk. and just knew something was going to be different.
Wow. And so you know, you don't have to walk through the details with us, but how was that night different? What got you into recovery? And I thought it was, if you're comfortable saying this, Rob, I thought it was really powerful how it was actually your dog, Jake, right?
Yeah, I would tell you about the miracles of God, right? He reveals himself in many different ways. But that night, I mean, I literally went home without a plan. It was just one of these things on autopilot. And I ended up walking right past Jake, my lab, rest his soul. And, but I put about 350 pounds on the barbell and laid down on my workout bench. And without a thought, just picked up that rack and just dropped it right across my chest. But as soon as I unhinged my elbows, what I believe happened was that God grabbed a hold of that bar and said, "Hey, Jake, talk to your dad real quick." And Jake started nudging my leg and looking at me with those puppy dog eyes. And my first thought was, who is going to feed you tomorrow morning? I started thinking about my mom and my brother and just my family and all these quick things in milliseconds, right? And again, what I believe was God was holding that rack, holding that bar, put that 350 pounds back on the rack. And from that moment right there, I knew life was going to be different. And that next morning was totally amazing because I was like up to 2 bottles of scotch drinker in my sales and marketing life, right? But I could drink a half a beer, but you know, that was kind of like my capacity. And I have not had a craving or desire. I didn't go through detox or withdrawal since June 8th, 2001. And to me, that is a miracle.
Yeah, you know, that's a miracle. That's a miracle we talk about often in the rooms of recovery. The desire to pick up a drink, all of a sudden that obsession leaves. And I don't know about you, Rob, but I can't tell you exactly which day that left. All I know is like there was a point in my journey where it's like, I'm not thinking about it anymore. I'm not obsessed with it. I'm not obsessed with how much the person next to me, how much they've had to drink, or how much liquor is in someone else's house. Like a miracle.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about a miracle here.
Yeah, we are. That. And just finding like sober community and all that stuff and just completely changing my life and just realizing I'm worth saving. And so I am like so stoked about that day because it could have gone completely south and damaged a lot of lives. But that's where I was at the time.
Okay, so life is good. You got connected to recovery. And I realize we're kind of skipping the hard work done in recovery, the hard work of surrender, the hard work of working the steps, you know, and we could talk about that all night. The hard work of step 4, the hard work of step 5, the hard work of step 9. You worked the steps, you did the hard work, life was good, but then year 11 hit. And you get a, not just like a jail time, but a 13-year prison sentence. Tell us what it was like and tell us some of the miracles that happened during that time.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, I really forgot about how great recovery was along the way. Because when I got sober, like I wasn't married, didn't have kids, didn't own a business. Well, those things came in recovery, the blessings of recovery, right? But over time, I started putting my faith on a shelf and I picked up fear and I became an abundance-minded, fear-driven person that started self-harming himself like I'm in recovery, right? So what is recovery really? It's like, what's my spiritual conditioning today for me? But I started self-harming myself and no one knew about it. It was my own little secret. And I didn't want anyone to know because I already thought I was a loser. I failed, all these things. They were in my own head. People weren't telling me that. But yeah, I mean, February 2012 came along after I lost my career in October 2011. And I was up late one night. I was in a complete desperate place. Again, I feel like I was like on autopilot, kind of like Satan was just kind of like running my life in a lot of ways. And at this evening, I mean, my family went to bed. I'm a late owl, still am a late owl, but they all went to bed. And I was just sitting on my couch looking for a side job and working on a part-time thing that I had going. And all of a sudden I had this idea to get up and just clean my townhouse. Now what I didn't know was that I had a problem with clutter. And there's all these things driving me, right, from a subconscious standpoint. And the next thing I knew, I had set some boxes on fire on my covered patio at 1:30 in the morning, and something I could not stop.
You intentionally set these boxes on fire?
Well, I'd say not from a clear conscience or clear-minded thing, but it was something that it was just something that happened. It was like a blackout moment.
Yeah.
But again, that moment right there was a history of just not doing the things I needed to be doing in recovery. So yeah, I had a major mental breakdown in year 11 of recovery, which as time went on and I ended up confessing to what I did and doing the right things, it led to a 13-year prison sentence. It was supposed to happen July 8th, 2013.
So you get to prison, and what happened?
Man, it was, having been the only person I ever knew that had been incarcerated before, I mean, my poor wife had to figure out, who is this guy I married? Is he psycho? Is he crazy? But bottom line is, I wasn't in my right mind during that time, which I had to get back to. So going to prison, my wife had to figure out, like, do I stay with Rob or not? You know, she had people pulling her this way and that way, and she had to sit down with God and figure out, do I stay with this guy? You know, and one of the other miracles real quick, so in June of 2012, I confessed everything I did. 6 months later, I got arrested with 19 felonies, 13 misdemeanors. But here's one of the first big miracles, you guys, is that I had a $100,000 bond that my attorney is like, they are not going to reduce. And the DA is like, they're not going to reduce that. But at that time, the judge actually reduced it to $25,000 that day, which my attorney's jaw was dropped. And I just told him in this process, like, God's going to do miracles. One of my mom's favorite things is expect a miracle. And that's what I did. I expect miracles, not a conceited way or anything, but I just expect God to show up.
Yeah.
And that day I was able to get out and go home to my family with some restrictions, of course. And then 7 months later, I got sentenced to the Department of Corrections in Colorado on 2 charges. And in that 10 and a half months that I was gone, I got to figure out, why the heck am I a Christian? Like, why do I believe what I believe? And what I learned was all these external forces defined who I was. But finally, I got to understand what it was like to live my life from my identity in Christ. And I believed it for the first time in my entire Christian walk, that was who I was, a child of God. My identity is in Jesus Christ, not in anything else. And that was one of the crazy blessings that I received while I was gone. Meanwhile, my wife's at home being, nurturer, disciplinarian, trying to figure out how to keep food on the table. And, the other miracle there is that God surrounded my family with community and took care of them while I was gone. And I didn't have to worry about them.
Yeah. Rob, I'm glad you mentioned that. Oftentimes when we talk about miracles, and we'll talk more about this in this series, how are we defining miracles? But generally when we talk about miracles, I hear people go to these medical miracles and cancer being wiped away. And y'all, don't get me wrong, those things certainly happen. Like, I've surrendered to the idea God is way bigger than me. I don't have all the answers, and that's a good thing. You don't want Ryan having all the answers. Or we go to these just out-of-body experiences. And again, these things certainly happen. I'm not denying those things. But I hear you talk about, and what I hear people in recovery talk about often, is the miracle of relationships being restored in their life.
Yeah.
The miracle of marriages being healed. And not always. I mean, I realize some brokenness, sometimes we make big messes and that brokenness follows us for many, many years. But I hear of relationships working out better. So this dude was just on a cruise pre-COVID, all right? Just on a cruise, on this marriage cruise. But I love talking to Rob about the ways in which his relationship with his wife is being, and I say being because it's a present, current, being restored. Tell us about that.
Yeah, it is. Well, there was 2 promises that God gave me when I was incarcerated. As I was reading the Circle Maker by Mark Batterson, he talks about praising God for the promises he gave you and quit praying for him, because he already said he'd give that to you. So the 2 promises he gave me were, you would get released to the halfway house in the first round, which I believed, and I have healed your marriage. Now, I can tell you one thing, the healing the marriage part did not feel like it for a while, because I was still in my own way. I was still blaming and all these things, and I didn't realize that I'm 100% responsible for me. So until I got to that point, that's when a big shift happened in me. So I will tell you this, the first miracle happened fast, because that's how I was released from prison in 10 and a half months and spent 11 months in a halfway house 8.2 miles from my family. So I had to start building those relationships and earning trust back, which I will say I didn't do a great job of in the beginning because I was still in my own way. But what you were just talking about with this cruise, you guys, this is like crazy. So last year, my wife and I went through a 4.5 month ministry on healing marriages. We put in the work, man. I mean, I've learned a lot about me, and my wife learned a lot about her. And in the end of this, my wife says to me, there's one cruise that I want to go on. The only cruise I would ever go on is a family life ministry cruise. Shortly after we complete this 4.5 months, a friend of my wife's calls her up and says, hey, Jen, Chris and I were going to go on this cruise, but now we can't. And we prayed about it. We were going to sell it, but God said we should give it to somebody. Do you and Rob want to go? Yes.
So he picks up the phone and calls me and says, do you want to go instead?
Yeah, it didn't work because Tammy said no, and my wife was like, yeah, you guys figure that one out. So, but guys, not only did we get to go on a cruise, and this is how God, I just believe if you put in the work, and I don't live my life like, God, show up, show up, show up, but I do expect God to reveal himself in just amazing ways that I can't even write a script about.
You know what I find, Rob, is when we go and hit the rock with the stick, it's like silly, it's ridiculous, it doesn't make sense. But once you've experienced the water that comes out, well, you begin to trust in the process. You trust that God is still at work in the world. And so you're like, all right, I'm going to take this step of faith. I don't know what it's going to look like. I'm not certain of the outcome, but I think there might be water in there. I think there might be some life-giving, life-sustaining work in this. So I think once we practice it, and I think it is a practice, and your boy Duke said on a Facebook thread, I forget which thread, but it was just today, Duke said, I expect miracles. Mm-hmm. And it's like, yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you said your mom says that? I expect miracles.
Yeah, she loves that quote.
I expect miracles.
Yeah.
I understand that now. If you would have said this to me 10 years ago, it's like, dude, that's weird. But I get it now. Things are different. Okay, Rob, we're coming up. We're getting short on time here, but just real quick, Rob's doing some great healing work in the world. Rob, as you see on the screen, he's a speaker. He's an interventionist. He has given his life to help others in recovery. He's got this really cool thing that he's just developed. So give us the 60-second version of what the art of intervention is and what you're doing with that. It's pretty cool. I want you all to hear about this.
Yeah, thanks for the space to let people know about that. So the Art of Intervention project is something I put together over the last several months. It's 30 speakers, experts talking about things like how to heal the family unit, how to break free from addiction, how to live a transformed life. And these are amazing experts, you guys. I mean, it is a plethora of power-packed information. So if you're looking for resources, whether you're a professional wanting to beef up your practice, a family that has a loved one, or just a person stuck in recovery, guys, check out. It's free, and it's almost 30 hours of experts. There's so many cool things packed, but it's theartofinterventionproject.com. I invite all you guys to come. Please share it. I mean, it's going to transform a lot of lives.
Thank you, Rob. It's an honor to be on this journey with you. I'm glad we partnered up. I've met so many cool people in this project, this free project that Tammy and I started just 2 years ago now. Man, we were just talking about that last week, that 2 years ago we were meeting in her backyard and with our first gathering. Had no clue all the people like Rob I would meet along the way. So glad you're here, brother. Glad we've connected. I can't wait to see what happens with the summit and with this project that you're engaged in. Keep us in the loop. We're going to have you back, and you're going to tell us about it. And my man, we expect miracles. Is it true?
It is.
All right.
It is. Live it.
Hey, I'm glad you're here, Rob. Thank you. If you guys have questions for Rob, I was reading some of the comments. Powerful story. But I know it raises some questions, and we just have just a few minutes to engage these storytellers. So if you have questions or more comments for Rob, put them in the comments. He's sticking around here for a little while. He's going to engage your questions and comments on the Facebook thread here. So engage away, ask all the questions you have. Rob's a pretty open guy, so nothing's off limits. Thank you again, Rob, for being here. Listen, I want you all to hear from Saman. Saman Meyer is in the house. She is the lead of our home team. She does incredible work around this place. She's outgoing and spunky and just loves people. That's spunky. Did I just use that word? Yeah, I used that word. And it works. For y'all that know Saman, you know, spunky. I did say it 3 times. All right, here we go now. But I asked Saman to join us tonight. By the way, she's also kind of heading up the process of what it looks like for us to reopen our doors for the 12-step groups. So thank you, Saman, for all the work you put into that. But I've asked her to come and tell us a little bit about the wagon and why she gives. And as you all know, your generous giving keeps this community going and thriving. but y'all hear that enough from me. So hear it from Saman. Saman is in the house. Take it away.
Hey everybody, it's so awesome to be here again tonight. It's so great to have these guys back from vacation. They were certainly missed. So I cannot be a Lou, I cannot be a David, and I cannot be a Ryan when I talk about the wagon. I just can't do it. I can't. But what I can tell you is that, you know, the wagon represents everything that we stand for, right? You know, we are on the wagon, we are traveling together, and when someone slips and falls off, we're there. We reach our hands down and we grab them and we bring them back. You know, that's what we do here at Free. We don't judge, we don't shame, we're there to help. So we rally around and we bring people. So the wagon, you know, that brings me to, you know, our giving. So around here we have donation boxes. One is in the shape of a wagon, and unfortunately we cannot, you know, utilize that right now. So there are a couple of other options that we have. What I used and what I love is the new app. Right down the bottom, there's a little spot that says giving. I went in there and I put in my amount and I put it in weekly. It's set up to go every single week. I don't have to worry about it. These guys get their stuff, and I've done my, you know, I've done my part. So why do I give? You know, it was a couple of years into my recovery when I wanted to like expand on, you know, my spirituality and expand my recovery past the 12-step program. And I came across Free. Free has become a home to me. It has become a place where my spirituality has definitely grown. I've gone from having a higher power to having God in my life. And it makes complete sense to me with the amount of money that I used to spend on alcohol. Why couldn't I, you know, why can't I like let that go and spend it here where I love to be every Saturday night, where my family is? I want to make sure that when I come here on Saturdays, that this place is open, right? And I want to make sure that we can keep doing these amazing things that we do with the community. So that's why I give back to Free, because Free has given me so much. There's a second way that you can donate. Ryan's going to talk about that. It's just via text, which is super safe. I think that's all I need to talk about tonight. So that's why I give to Free. I do it on a weekly basis. Like I said, it's so easy to set up through the app, and you get notification every week that it's about to go through. So yeah, back to you, Ryan.
Thank you, Saman. I'm so glad you were part of this community, truly. And I hope you all see that too. She's just genuine and real and brings it. So thank you, Saman. So beautifully said. How much you spent on alcohol, but now you can actually spend it in other ways, in ways that I hope makes a more positive difference in the world. So thank you, Saman. As Saman mentioned, there are two ways to give in this community. And as I said previously, your giving truly does make a difference here, and don't think any amount is too small. The first way is to simply text this number on your screen. It'll text you back. Then you can put in, follow the instructions, you can put in a number. And that's the first way to give. The second way is visit our website and go to freespiritualcommunity.com. Hit the donate button. You can also do this on the app, as Saman said. And again, you can put in a number. You can do it on a weekly basis, monthly basis, bi-weekly basis, whatever you're comfortable with. And Rob Lohman just threw me a dollar bill, y'all. Dollar bill. All right. So, hey, that's a word about our giving. Shall we close things with heartaches? What time is it? 7:53. Y'all, if you're new with us, we close things online by 8. We try to. In person, we go to about 8:15. But let's close with heartaches. And the reason we close with heartaches is I know that some of y'all are carrying around these heavy burdens. I get emails and phone calls and texts throughout the week of the burdens you're carrying, and it's heavy stuff. And you, my brothers and sisters, my brothers from other mothers and my sisters from other misters, we're not meant to carry these burdens alone. We do it together as a community. We carry these things together. We have a prayer team here. It's led by Jason McKissick. and he organizes us all. We have a prayer team, and he takes all these prayer requests, and we pray for you throughout the week. He keeps us organized and splits us up, and we're supposed to check in with you all, and I think we do that. I think we do a pretty good job at it. So it's our way to pray for you, but what I also know happens is this community prays for one another, and y'all lift up each other throughout the week. You carry the burdens together. So here's the deal. Take 3 minutes, just like we do with celebrations. Get vulnerable with this community. We encourage vulnerability and openness here. Let us know the heavy burdens you're carrying so we can pray for you and connect with you and lift you up throughout the week. Even text you or call you or shoot you a Facebook message, whatever it is. We want to do this work together. So take 3 minutes and give us the heartbreaks. And God joins with us in this work, by the way. This is spiritual work. Don't forget that. All right, take 3 minutes.
Welcome back, y'all. Thank you for taking the time to share your heartaches with us.
Someone was asking who that song was. I think Desiree was asking that.
Ah.
I don't know who that song is. We'll get that. We'll post it later. She wants to put it on her playlist. It's kind of groovy
nice.
though, isn't it? Yeah. Sorry, Tam. Take it away.
Back to you. Oh, hey, Danny. So please pray for our friend Suzanne Williams. Her apartment flooded tonight, and she and her 2 kids were displaced. Prayer that she can find some comfort soon. That is tough. Yeah. Thanks for sharing, Danny.
Yeah. Prayers for your friend. Sue says, prayers for my sister, Kathy. She's really struggling right now with depression, and her outlook of life in general could use some prayers to lift her up. Prayers for Kathy. Thank you for lifting her up, Sue. Prayers for Kathy.
And I think that Kathy's not alone, if we're completely honest. I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of that going on. So
Absolutely.
yeah, we'll be praying. Thanks for sharing that. Jane, hey Jane, pray for my friend and fellow poet, Deanna. She has a brain tumor in a tricky spot, and her treatment is risky. Yeah.
Yeah, prayers for your friend. Prayers for
sure.
you, Deanna. Amanda says, pray for my friend Julie, who is wondering who God is. Pray that he reveals himself to her. Yeah, let's get honest with that. How many of us wonder who God is? And prayers for your friend that God is revealed, and maybe even a bit of trusting the process. Hard to do. Trusting that something is bigger out there than you. Thank you for lifting that up, Amanda.
Christy, my daughter came out to me about a year ago and is really trying to find her place with society and friends. Your daughter is definitely welcome here. So
Absolutely.
please know that, and please let her know that as well.
And it's worth saying that this is an LGBTQ friendly community. You are welcome here.
We don't shame.
Yeah, we don't do shame. Thank you, Drew. Whoever just said we don't do shame in this community. Rob said that we don't do shame in this community because shame kills people, keeps people silent. It's devastating. We don't do shame. You're welcome here. Alyssa, what up, Alyssa? I hope that new baby's doing well. She says, please pray for a friend of a friend, Margot, who was in a car accident 10 days ago. Currently, she is in a coma, and her family is praying for a miracle of healing and for her to wake up. Prayers for Margot. We know that can be really difficult times. So thank you, Alyssa, for lifting her up. Prayers for Margot.
Yeah,
And
that's
family.
tough.
One more. Yeah, we got a lot, y'all. We clearly don't read all of them on these Saturday nights. So we just throw a few on the screen. Tammy, you want to take the last one?
Kathleen, we're glad that you're here and joining us.
Yeah.
Prayers for the sick, the suffering, and the lost, both inside and outside of the rooms, absolutely. And that during these troubled times, they will turn to God, the way, the truth, and the light.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
for
you,
that.
Kathleen. That's a good word.
Mhm.
And prayers for that and them. All right. Thank you, Tammy. We are going to go out. It is, what time is it? It is 8:01. Hey, not bad for timing. Let's go out with the Serenity Prayer. As I do each week, I encourage y'all to just get quiet for a moment, maybe even put your palms in the air. It's a sign of openness. It's a sign that you're going to be open to the new thing that God is doing in your life. You're going to be open to some serenity and courage and wisdom along the way. So let's just close your eyes for a moment and let's join together in the Serenity Prayer. Let's pray this prayer together. If you don't know it, it's on the screen and it goes like this. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Amen. And to you, my brothers and sisters, I hope you know God is everywhere, and there are rocks everywhere, and sometimes life-giving, sustaining water flows out of these rocks. Find these rocks, identify them, walk the spiritual path, and let God lead you along the way. My brothers and sisters, may you have so much grace and peace this week. Love y'all. We'll see you soon.